the Portland Trailblazers parting ways on Friday night. Their star Damian Lillard made it clear that he wanted Jason Kidd as his successor. This endorsement not sitting well with Kidd, who formally withdrew consideration from the gig, saying Dame's public proclamation left him uncomfortable and feeling like he would put both Dame and Portland's process in an awkward circumstance. Stephen A., who should the Blazers target as head coach to keep Lillard happy?
Well, to answer the question, number one, it was right to have been Jason Kidd because that's who Damian Lillard wanted. Mark Jackson, yet again, I'm going to bring up that name yet again, our colleague and analyst here at ESPN. How the hell this man don't get interviews? It's just beyond me. It's just beyond me. Mark Jackson should be interviewed by Portland. Mark Jackson should be interviewed by Boston. Mark Jackson should be interviewed for damn it any head coaching job out there in the NBA, considering what he brought to the table. Max, I'll leave a couple of names to you.
I just want one name. They were
on my list. I'll leave that. Chauncey Billups is a name I'm going to throw out there as well. But let me get to this Jason Kidd thing, because I will remind everybody, I know I'm doing First Take, and I got Stephen A's World, and I'm a very, very busy man in studio. But I have been covering the NBA for a quarter century. I do know a lot of people, and I know everybody involved in all of this stuff with Jason Kidd. Everybody. Now, let me say this. Jason Kidd's name comes up. Mm-hmm. Damian Lillard throws out his name.
Gave him an out.
They're Oakland natives, both of them. They've known each other for years, okay? That's why Damian Lillard did that, because he respects the brother and he knows him, all right? And then all of a sudden, all this noise comes out about Jason Kidd's past. Molly, domestic violence, 2000, 2001, I believe it was, DWI, 2012. I would remind everybody that since that time, no other incident has happened. Jason Kidd has had not one but two head coaching jobs in Brooklyn and Milwaukee. But somehow the Knicks job comes up, people start talking about his past. Okay? The Lakers job, because they wanted him before Frank Vogel, people start talking about his past. Now Portland comes up and people start talking about his past. And I find that a tad bit odd. How all of these stories just suddenly percolate right when the time when it seems ideal that the brother's about to get a head coaching job. At some point in time, it's like this. Excuse me. What about merit? The merit of what you do? Because Jason Kidd has been happily married for over 10 years. Ain't had no incidents to speak of or whatever. Okay. And if you're good enough to be an assistant coach on a team, okay, then your merit should decide whether or not you're the head coach, as opposed to somebody bringing up stuff from 20 years ago. All right. So I find that a tad bit odd. He was not uncomfortable. You'll have to figure out how I know this. He was not uncomfortable with Damian Lillard recommending him. He was honored that Damian Lillard would recommend him for that job. Now, Neil O'Shea is running the show in Portland. Okay, and he finally decides to get rid of Terry Stotts, and all of a sudden you hear these candidates, and conveniently these stories come leaking out. Max, now you know me. I'm a very, very busy man, like I said, until you require my attention and ask me to, and essentially force me to look into stuff. I have better things to do, but now this got my attention because I want to know why. I want to know why, and all of a sudden, you understand, a name like Jason Kidd comes out, and we start hearing about all of these things that we all knew, but nobody talked about. And every single time he comes up for a head coaching job, that's the only time somebody says, wait a minute now this man's employed. Ain't like he ain't been unemployed. He's employed in the NBA.
Yeah. Like it's okay for him to be an assistant, but it's not okay for him to be a head coach.
Real quick, the way I read him saying he was uncomfortable was it just sounds to me like maybe the Lakers job might be available before too long, and maybe he would be considered for that.
It could be, but I doubt it. But that's not it. He was not uncomfortable. He was not uncomfortable.
Let me say this. I'd love to see Sam Cassell. You always talk about the paucity of African-American head coaches. Well, if you go to retreads, guys who've already had jobs, you're not entering any fresh blood in there. Why not a guy who's paid his dues in the assistant ranks, Sam Cassell, a champion as a player, as a top assistant coach, get his name in there. And I really like that idea of Sam Cassell.
Yep.
And
so do I.
Yeah.
So do I.
Yeah.
And by the way, Jason Kidd, just so you know, Jason Kidd with Sam Cassell, where their strength comes in, particularly with Jason Kidd, why the Lakers were so interested in him, it was Jason Kidd that developed Giannis. He's big on player development. Him and his team. When you play with Jason Kidd, or you play for Jason Kidd, you get better as a talent. Yusuf Nurkic. Just a thought. Just a thought.
You give Dame whatever coach he wants.
Yes, you
Dame
do.
Lillard says, I want
Neil O'Shea.
Who would you want, Kidd or Cassell, if you had a choice?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
Sorry, you gotta do it. It's first take.
I would say
Sam
Kidd.
Cassell.
I would say Kidd. I would say Kidd because Damian Lillard wants him.
Well,
Neil O'Shea.
Matt?
Unless we want to show
Sam
that Damian
Cassell.
Lillard.
You got to give Lillard what he.
Damian Lillard, this is actually Instagram. After Portland's loss last night and the Trailblazers were eliminated, he posted that picture and wrote, "How long should I stay dedicated? How long till opportunity meets preparation?" Quoting the late, great Nipsey Hussle. So, Stephen A., let me come back to you. Kendrick Perkins brought up the Lakers need to find a way to get Damian Lillard, and Lillard should want to go there. Stephen A., do you see any way that happens?
No. Number one, he makes too much money. Number two, the equitable compensation that Portland would demand in return for a dude in the midst of a $250 million contract would require you giving up, something in return. So maybe one of your big two, meaning Anthony Davis. Number three, and more importantly, Damian Lillard does not want to be in L.A. He's dedicated to Portland and what have you. That may have changed after last night as well as it should, because I've told him many times it needs to change. He needs to get the hell up out of Portland, and it's been validated yet again when they blew his 55-point performance and still lost Game 5. But even though, I could see him ultimately leaving Portland, even insisting on being out of there as much as he loves being there and repping that city. He's not the kind of guy that wants to run to L.A. That's not who he is. That's not his ilk. That's not what he's made of. He's not interested in being in Tinseltown, being the sidekick to LeBron James. That is not how he flows. I do not see that happening.
Okay, fair enough. So we'll see. The Damian Lillard saga may play out. Now, I did want to bring in your friend and mine, D. Wood, who is devastated today. I mean, it's so sad to see a big fella looking this kind of sad, Stephen A., because you know how much he loves the Lakers. And D. Wood, Stephen A. just said, your window is closed. How do you feel this morning?
Greeny, I told you before Get Up, I was pissed off this morning. I told you how pissed off and mad I was this morning. And here it is before 10 a.m., and Stephen A. coming in here talking all types of foolishness. Out there in Los Angeles speaking blasphemy about my Los Angeles Lakers, talking about it's over, it's a wrap. Have you lost your damn mind, Stephen A.? Okay, you cannot be out there on our turf talking foolishness about the Los Angeles Lakers this era with LeBron James being over. There is no way in the world that we're going to sit back this offseason with what we displayed last night and think we're not going to come back with some type of move? Are you kidding me? After we got the chip last year, no way we going to settle and go back to those awful years that we had over the past, 7, 8 years or whatever it was. There's no way we're going to keep flowing backwards like that. We're going to make a comeback. And I'm not here to hear Stephen A. talking crazy about my Los Angeles Lakers. Forget all of that.
Well, first of all, in order to not hear me, it's a very simple solution. Take out your earplugs and go and play that piano behind you. Right? Ain't nobody stopping you. The fact of the matter is, they asked me a question. And as the late, great John Thompson, God rest his wonderful soul, once said about me, here's the thing I love about my man Stephen A. Smith. You want to know how he feels? Just ask them. It's very simple. I was asked a question. I'm minding my business. I didn't mind coming on at 10 o'clock, but they asked me to get up early to come on First Take. So out of the kindness of my heart and my love for Greeny and the whole Get Up crew, I decided to show up and answer an honest question. It's over. It's over because Klay Thompson is coming back and the Golden State Warriors will be coming. It's over because Donovan Mitchell is a bona fide superstar, D-Wade 2.0, and the Utah Jazz might very well come out of the West. It's over because Jokic is the man doing his thing. He's about to win league MVP. Michael Porter has elevated with the absence of Jamal Murray, and Jamal Murray is coming back. It's over because Kyrie, KD, and James Harden ain't going nowhere in Brooklyn. It's over because the Milwaukee Bucks have the Giannis the Greek Freak. They have Drew Holiday. They've got Chris Middleton. Okay? It's over because Joel Embiid won't always be hurt. Ben Simmons ain't going nowhere. Seth Curry and the rest of the crew in Philadelphia, coached by Doc Rivers, will have something to say. I gave you about 6 or 7 different reasons before I even brought up Father Time, before I even brought up injury-prone Anthony Davis, before I even brought up the fact that the Los Angeles Lakers, not you, Damian Woody, not the competition, the Los Angeles Lakers did it to themselves. And let me break some news to Damian Woody. In all seriousness, D. Wood, I got some news that's going to really depress you. But as a champion, you know exactly where I'm going with this. The Los Angeles Lakers win the title last year. What happened? Everybody in the NBA will tell you they were feeling themselves. We walking around Tinseltown, not LeBron, because LeBron is LeBron, and he's going to be in that weight room paying his $1.5 million to work on his body every single year. But there's a lot of people for the Los Angeles Lakers that were accused of not prioritizing, taking this season seriously enough because they were feeling themselves as reigning defending champions. You've been around people like that. Bill Belichick never allowed that in New England, which is why y'all won so many damn championships. You've seen many times where dudes in professional sports, they win one, they think they've arrived, and they forgot that the next year is a new year. That's what the Lakers did. They blew their opportunity, and as a result, it's over. And oh, by the way, before last year, they had missed the playoffs 6 straight years. So let's not act like it's beyond the pale that the Lakers could plummet. Let's stop that.